So, Gareth, we've spoken previously about the need for us as commercial beings to satisfy needs to be successful, but we've also thought about the differences between needs and wants, but also the importance of working within a framework that's familiar to us, so that we can do this really well. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were talking before about how important it is to get that human element in there, and also about why a framework. And it's important to link those things together because you need to have a framework to give you something to think about, to prepare, so that and when you're in the meeting, you know where you are and you know where you're selling, you know when you're negotiating, and the steps between that. But I think it's also fundamental, if you strip it all back, that framework needs to understand core human needs. And I think there's 6 if you really strip everything back. So let's just go through those very quickly. There's a sense of fairness, a sense of certainty. There's something about status. So there's the first 3. What do I mean by some of those? So a sense of fairness, for example, perceived unfairness is one of the key things that leads to a rejection of any proposal, any offer. Status is another classic one to think about. If people feel threatened in terms of their status, they will often go to long lengths to defend the indefensible. So there's 3.
And it's interesting to hear that. It sounds like a psychological theory to me, although I can relate to it. How can we use this?
Well, it's important to recognise that if your framework and if your approach doesn't meet those needs, and those 6 core needs, and we've spoken about 3 of them here, you're likely to fail. So what do I mean by that? Let's talk about the other 3. A sense of belonging, a sense of autonomy, and expectations of the future. Let's just pick autonomy. What do I mean by that? It's the ability for the other person to feel like they've been listened. You've spoken about that a lot, to be heard, and that we're linking any proposal to those things. So let's just take an example. If you just go straight into your customer and you effectively present without really understanding, without listening, without using those questions, you're going to fail. You're likely to fail. And so, any framework that you have needs to meet those 6 core fundamental needs. Otherwise, you're giving yourself more likelihood of failing with that proposal as opposed to succeeding.
And so as part of that framework, in terms of our preparation, but also what we're listening for whilst we're in the meeting, is we're watching out for those 6 core needs. We're watching out for them and noticing how they play and how they show up, both in terms of the way we're talking about what we're there to sell, but also what we're hearing from our customers in that moment. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it comes back to that human thing. If we're not realizing that we're selling to human beings and they've got core fundamental needs, we're more likely to fail, and therefore we need to recognize that.
Okay, thank you, Gareth.